On the news tonight, federal government reaffirms its commitment to improving rural healthcare delivery. House of Representatives pledges to pass the Human Rights Defenders Bill into law. NAFDAC calls for coordinated solutions to address antimicrobial resistance threats in the country. Abroad, United States President-elect picks Mr. Bessent, an international businessman, to serve as Treasury Secretary. Good evening and welcome to the Delta Television News at 8. I am Ogaga Ikama. President Bola Tinubu has written to the Senate seeking confirmation of Lieutenant General Olufemi Oloyede's appointment as the substantive Chief of Army Staff. In a statement by spokesman Mr. Bayo Ononuga, President Tinubu said he's seeking General Oloyede's confirmation in line with Section 218, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended and Section 18, subsection 1 of the Armed Forces Act. President Tinubu appointed General Oloyede as the acting Chief of Army Staff on October 30, following the illness of late Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja. General Lagbaja, however, died on November 5. Earlier to his appointment, General Oloyede, a member of the 39th Regular Corps like his predecessor, served as the 56th Commander of the Elite Infantry Corps of the Nigerian Army based in Jaji, Kaduna State. The federal government has restated its commitments to improving healthcare delivery, especially in rural areas. Vice President Kashim Shettima gave the assurance when he hosted a delegation from the West at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Senator Shettima acknowledged the critical role of medical professionals in Nigeria's health sector, noting that the federal government was committed to supporting and retaining healthcare professionals. He commended healthcare professionals for dedication to service in spite of challenges and assured the delegation that President Bola Tinubu's administration was committed to addressing healthcare challenges. Senator Shettima highlighted the appointment of Professor Muhammadu Pate as the Coordinating Minister for Health and Social Welfare, adding that the minister had deep understanding of the health sector. The Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, has said the establishment of more tertiary institutions in the country is to make education at that level accessible to all Nigerians. Senator Akpabio stated this at the opening ceremony of the public hearing organized on bills seeking for establishment of Federal Polytechnic Onueke, Ezza South in Ebonyi State, and Abanikoko Federal University of Education, Owerri. He said the gathering reflected the shared commitments of the Senate and other critical stakeholders to fostering inclusive and sustainable development through education. Senator Akpabio said the Senate remains committed to legislative initiatives that promote equity, growth, and prosperity of the nation. The House of Representatives has pledged to pass the Human Rights Defenders Bill into law as a way of reaffirming its commitment to strengthening human rights protection in Nigeria. The chairman of the House Committee on Human Rights, Honorable Abiola Makinde, stated this during a visit to the National Human Rights Commission (NHRC) in Abuja. Honorable Makinde, represented by his deputy, Honorable Madishiri Lukman, assured the NHRC that the committee would work tirelessly to ensure the passage of critical bills on human rights issues, as well as make adequate budgetary provisions to support the Commission's work. The lawmaker noted that the 5 billion naira approved for the NHRC in the 2024 budget was inadequate, considering the widespread human rights violations in the country, and pledged that the committee would push for an increase in the Commission's budget for 2025. The Executive Secretary of the NHRC, Dr. Tony Ojukwu, commended the lawmakers for their support in the amendment of the NHRC Act 2010. He thanked the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, for his role in facilitating the payment of compensation to victims of human rights violations by the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS. The State Head of Service, Mr. Reginald Bayoko, has directed all public and civil servants who traveled abroad without requisite permission or whose authorization has expired to return back to their duty posts within 2 weeks. The initiative is aimed at enforcing discipline and accountability in the state's public service. Mr. Bayoko has also mandated all ministries, departments, and agencies (MDAs) to compile a list of officers who have traveled abroad since 2018, indicating whether they obtained proper authorization or have overstayed their approved period, and a comprehensive report submitted by December 2. The head of service warned that accounting officers, directors, and immediate supervisors would bear direct accountability for any regulatory breaches, including the recovery of salaries disbursed to absent officers from the responsible officials. According to a government circular number TM.34/57/T1/46, dated November 11, 2024, failure to comply with the directive would lead to immediate and decisive disciplinary measures, including summary dismissal. Reaffirming the administration's commitment to high standards and ethical governance, Mr. Bayoko called on all MDAs to ensure prompt and complete compliance, stressing that the integrity of the service hinged on collective adherence to rules and regulations. The head of service also employed public servants to respect established protocols for overseas travel, while also reiterating the importance of cultivating a culture of responsibility and compliance. He maintained that officers' dedication was paramount to maintaining the excellence and dependability of the Delta State Public Service. Governor Sheriff Oberoi recently voiced strong dissatisfaction over officers who leave their duty posts for overseas trips without permission, yet continue to draw salaries, undermining the integrity of the service. The state government, through the Awareness Creation Committee on Youth Enlistment in the Military and Paramilitary Services, has encouraged eligible Deltans to visit the Nigerian Air Force NAF official website to complete and submit applications for the 2024 Batch B of the Nigerian Air Force Direct Short Service Commission enlistment for university graduates. The Direct Short Service Commission is a type of commission in the Nigerian Air Force which is open to both civilians and serving military personnel. The course provides the avenue for the enlistment of university degree holders who are professionals in specified fields. The training period is usually 6 months of intensive military training, and successful candidates are commissioned into the rank of flying officer. A statement from the Delta State Orientation Bureau says applicants must not be more than 30 years by September 2025, with the exception of medical consultants who can be 25 to 40 years old and must be medically and mentally fit. Applicants must also have a minimum of 5 credits, including mathematics and English language, plus second-class upper division for degree holders and upper credit for HND holders, as well as NYC discharge certificate. The statement adds that application forms and other details can be obtained online at www.nafrecruitment.airforce.mil.ng, while the closing date is November 26. Interested candidates have been requested to contact the Nigerian Air Force office telephone number 0990444444 in case for further inquiries. On the bustling streets and remote corners of Asaba, the state capital, countless children of school age toil under oppressive conditions, robbed of their childhood and denied their rights to education as they are found hawking, begging, and engaging in domestic work. Mora Isopan went around town to seek opinions of residents on the menace of child labor and how to curb it.
The United Nations Children Education Fund, UNICEF, in 2022 reported that at least 20.1 million children are out of school in Nigeria, making it the second highest out-of-school rate in the world. Despite various programs and policies put in place to check child labor, the surge has been perpetuated by poverty, which compels families to make children contribute to household income. Many of these children work in dangerous environments, hawk on the busy major highways, streets, and engage in tedious domestic labor to earn a living, thereby deprived of proper education and moral upbringing. Some respondents blamed child labor on uneducated parents, broken homes, which led to improper upbringing of children, while others blamed it on hardship caused by the economic condition in the country.
Parents failing to take up their responsibility as the guidance and making sure the children are prepared for tomorrow. So that's one of the major issues where we are having Nigerians, we're having overcrowded prisons, we're having crimes, because as at that time the children were growing up, parents never had time for them. They never sent to the school. You know, school can moderate your activities, can make you think well and abstain from troubles.
But most of them, I see them as maybe victims of breaking, poor background, that might lead parents to, engage, maybe mostly of them underage, into menial jobs, or maybe a way of maybe getting money for the family to support the family.
They called on parents to give birth to the number of children they can cater for, and also leverage the free education in public primary and secondary schools in the state to get children back to school. They also urged religious organizations and the government to play their parts by ensuring that the menace was reduced to the barest and succor provided to the needy in the society.
The parents should take up responsibility of making sure, knowing fully well that it is their duty to make sure that children are well brought up so that they don't constitute nuisance to the society.
So I'm also appealing to Delta State government to chase away these people here. Children are begging. It's wrong. They should send them to school.
To achieve measurable results, the Delta State Job Creation Bureau, in line with the more agenda of Governor Sheriff Oborevwori administration, is a beacon of hope through its numerous empowerment programs rolled out to sustain the people, particularly the vulnerable class. Child labor takes both physical and psychological toll on young children, devoid of the carefree joys of childhood, bearing scars that may never fully heal. The emotional trauma inflicted on them is a stain on the collective conscience of the society. Maura Isokma reporting.
The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has called for coordinated national and international solutions to address the issue of antimicrobial resistance AMR as it continues to pose a major threat in the fight against infections. The NAFDAC Director General Professor Mojisola Adeyeye made a call during a program organized in collaboration with the Royal Danish Embassy and the Denmark Ministry of Environment and Food to commemorate the 2024 World Antimicrobial Awareness Week in Lagos. Professor Adeyeye said the agency, having identified the danger posed by AMR, developed several mechanisms to combat the resistance often referred to as silent pandemic. According to her, some of the mechanisms include review of the formulation of antibiotics, ban on the use of growth promoter in livestock production, and ban on the use of colistin as coacidostat in poultry and swine products. The DG commended the Royal Danish Embassy for its support to the agency in attending to the challenges posed by AMR and for supporting the agency in the area of human development. The Danish ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Jens Hansen, said Denmark over the years had been a frontrunner in addressing the threat posed by AMR, noting that the country established a joint monitoring program for humans and animals in 1995. Mr. Hassan described AMR as one of the greatest challenges confronting global public health, adding that it required global solutions. The ambassador reiterated the commitment of the Danish government to support and collaborate with Nigeria to ensure public health safety. The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority (NCAA) has said no airline has launched a nationwide awareness campaign to sensitize travelers and airlines on their rights and obligations. The Director General of NCAA, Captain Chris Najomo, in a press briefing at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport, Abuja, stressed the significance of informing passengers about their entitlements and responsibilities, noting that the campaign was aimed at bridging the gap between passengers and airlines while ensuring adherence to aviation regulations. While highlighting common issues such as flight delays, Captain Najomo noted that after 2 hours of delay, airlines must provide snacks and refreshments, adding that passengers were entitled to refunds either in cash or processed online within 2 weeks. According to him, after 4 hours, airlines must provide hotel accommodations for overnight delays, urging airlines to communicate potential delays promptly to passengers through SMS or other channels and allow them to adjust their plans. Captain Ajomo said that the NCAA campaign, which has already commenced at major airports such as Port Harcourt, would expand nationwide to increase public awareness, assuring travelers of improved experiences this festive season, citing the addition of several new aircraft to the fleets of airlines. Still to come on the news. United States President-elect picks Mr. Bessent, an international businessman, to serve as Treasury Secretary. Details of this and more coming up shortly.
Bro, I dey tell you, this match 3-0. If I win you, something will come out.
Don't play with me. Fast ball. You know what? You don't shot me.
Bro.
Now we got this match.
Keep the banter going with Glow Borrow Me Credit or Data. Dial star 303 hash to borrow airtime or data and pay later.
Is it ready?
Power your relentless ambition with ultra-high-speed data. Glow Unlimited.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on the news. The United States President-elect, Mr. Donald Trump, has picked hedge fund manager Mr. Scott Bessent to serve as Treasury Secretary in a blitz of announcements after his choice for Attorney General said he was withdrawing. The 62-year-old Mr. Bessent, founder of the investment firm Key Square Capital Management, was tapped to execute an economic agenda expected to build around cutting taxes and imposing tariffs. Mr. Trump, in a statement, said Mr. Bessent was widely respected as one of the world's foremost international investors and geopolitical and economic strategists, adding that he would also help reinvigorate the private sector and help curb the unsustainable path of federal debt. The choice for Treasury Secretary, a protracted process, was the most anticipated by the U.S. business and finance community, given Mr. Trump's plans to remake global trade through tariffs and extend and potentially expand the raft of tax cuts enacted during his first term. The head of the Treasury Department will have broad oversight of tax policy, public debt, international finance, and sanctions. Mr. Bessent, a Wall Street financier who once worked for George Soros, was an early backer of Mr. Trump's 2024 bid, donating at least $3 million to the campaign. He had called for rolling back government subsidies, deregulating the economy, raising domestic energy production, and had also defended the use of tariffs. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, and Ukraine have scheduled to hold emergency talks on Tuesday next week after Russia attacked a central city with an experimental hypersonic ballistic missile that escalated the nearly 33-month-old war. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk said the conflict is entering a decisive phase, taking on very dramatic dimensions. Ukraine's parliament cancelled the session as security was tightened following Thursday's Russian strike on a military facility in the city of Dnipro. In a stark warning to the West, the Russian President, Mr. Vladimir Putin, said the attack with the intermediate-range Orishnik missile was in retaliation for Kyiv's use of US and British longer-range missiles capable of striking deeper into Russia territory. Mr. Putin said Western air defense systems would be powerless to stop the new missile. Ukrainian military officials said the missile had hit Dnipro, had reached a speed of Mach 11 and carried 6 non-nuclear warheads, each releasing 6 submunitions. Mr. Putin said Russia is launching production of the Orishnik. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency (NDLEA) has attributed the nation's high crime and illegality rate to the misuse of drugs among citizens. Commander of the NDLEA Idoroko Special Command, Mr. Olusegun Adeyeye, stated this while receiving seized cannabis sativa and tramadol worth 117 million at the Ogun 1 Area Command of the Nigerian Customs Service. Mr. Adeyeye explained that the narcotics, if successfully smuggled into Nigeria, would cause greater harm and have detrimental effects on the country's social, economic, and security systems. He stressed that illicit drugs act as both influencers and enablers, adding that the rate of criminality witnessed in the country emanates from the abuse of drugs. He asserted that the abuse of drugs affects all citizens and harped on the need for all, including religious and community leaders, to be involved in the campaign against it. The NDLEA commander added that the commission had provided rehabilitation centers across the country for drug addicts. The National Population Commission (NPC) has launched the 2024 Verbal and Social Autopsy Survey, which aims to identify the causes of under-5 and maternal mortality in Nigeria. The NPC chairman, Mr. Nasir Kwara, stated the importance of the VASA study during a press briefing on Friday in Abuja. Mr. Kwara noted that the survey built on data gathered from the 2023-2024 Nigeria Demographic and Health Survey, where a random sample of households which recorded under 5 deaths was selected for follow-up. He said this year's edition of the VASA survey was the third in the series conducted by the National Population Commission. The first time the study was conducted in Nigeria was in 2014 and subsequently in 2019. The VASA survey seeks to gather data on neonatal, infant, and child mortality by examining the cultural, behavioral, social, and health system factors contributing to deaths among children under 5 and women of reproductive age. The data will be used to help policymakers design effective health policies and programs focused on improving maternal and child health in Nigeria. The study, which began on November 4, 2024 and would run until December 15, 2024, was being conducted across all 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) Abuja. In business, the National Insurance Commission (NACOM) and the Nigerian Data Protection Commission (NDPC) have agreed to enhance data protection within Nigeria's insurance sector. The agreement was finalized through a Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) designed to safeguard the personal data of insurance policyholders and promote trust in the industry. The MOU aims to address critical concerns around data privacy, and ensure that the insurance sector complies with global best practices in data management. As part of the agreement, both agencies would collaborate on training programs to enhance awareness and skills in data protection among industry stakeholders and plan to establish privacy clinics to provide guidance and resolve data-related issues, conduct compliance activities to enforce adherence to regulations, and promote awareness among insurance companies about the importance of data protection. The committee includes representatives from NACOM, NDPC, and key industry associations such as the Nigerian Insurance Association (NIA) and the Nigerian Council for Registered Insurance Brokers. The committee will be tasked with monitoring progress, providing guidance, and fostering collaboration among stakeholders to ensure the successful execution of the agreement. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery has said that the federal government has not met its targets to supply crude oil to the refinery under the Naira for Crude initiative. It said the amount of crude received from the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited were peanuts compared to the volume needed to ramp the production of refined products. According to Newsman, the Vice President of Dangote Industries Limited, Devakuma Edwin, said the NNPCL hasn't met the target to deliver a minimum of 385,000 barrels per day since the commencement of the program in October, as it needs 650,000 barrels per day. They addressed challenges in accessing foreign currency. The government in July said it would sell crude priced in Naira to local refineries for an initial 6 months starting in October. The $20 billion Lekki-based plant aims to compete with European refineries when operating at full capacity, but it has struggled to secure sufficient crude supplies to run optimally. While Mr. Darakuma declined to give specific figures, he described deliveries from NNPCL under the scheme as peanuts. Confirming this situation, the acting executive director of the Crude Oil Refinery Owners Association of Nigeria, Mr. Martins Obaze, said Dangote remains the only recipient out of 8 operational refineries in Nigeria to have benefited from the Naira-dominated crude sale arrangement. The reason for the shortfall was not immediately clear, as NNPCL did not respond to a request for comment. The Dangote refinery in August urged the oil regulator, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, to enforce a rule that compels oil producers to supply local refineries. Moving out to sports, where Edo Queens lost 4-3 on penalties to Egypt's FC Massa in their third-place encounter at the 2024 CAF Women's Champions League yesterday night. Both teams battled to a goalless draw after 90 minutes of energy-sapping encounter. The group stage encounter also ended in a barren draw. FC Massa converted 4 of their spot kicks, with Edo Queens scoring only 3. The Egyptians went home with $350,000, while Edo Queens were rewarded with $300,000. Hosts AS FAR will clash with TP Mazembe in the final of the competition today. Next is a thought for the day. Every sunrise brings new opportunities to shine brighter than before. To end the news, here again are the main points. The federal government has restated its commitments to improving healthcare delivery, especially in rural areas. Vice President Kashim Shettima gave the assurance when he hosted a delegation from the West African College of Physicians at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. The House of Representatives has pledged to pass the Human Rights Defenders Bill into law as a way of reaffirming its commitment to strengthening human rights protection in Nigeria. The chairman of the House Committee of Human Rights, Honorable Abiola Makinde, stated this during a visit to the National Human Rights Commission (NHRC) in Abuja. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control (NAFDAC) has called for coordinated national and international solutions to address the issue of antimicrobial resistance (AMR) as it continues to pose a major threat in the fight against infections. The NAFDAC Director General, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, made a call during a program organized in collaboration with the Royal Danish Embassy and the Denmark Ministry of Environment and Food to commemorate the 2024 World Antimicrobial Awareness Week in Lagos. And abroad, the United States President-elect Mr. Donald Trump has picked hedge fund manager Mr. Scott Bessent to serve as Treasury Secretary in a blaze of announcements after his choice for Attorney General said he was withdrawing. The 62-year-old Mr. Bessent, founder of the investment firm Key Square Capital Management, was tapped to execute an economic agenda expected to be built around cutting tax tariffs. That's the news. Thank you so much for watching. I am Ogaga Ekama. Good evening.